Live from New York, it's Saturday night.
On a Wednesday.
And not New York. Hi, guys.
We've got two Londons, not a single New York.
Yes, that's very true.
Well, although not. Yes, not. Welcome back, Stuart, for part 2 of the... What are we doing? What is this? And if this is unsuccessful live, 3-part mini side show. What are we doing today, Stuart?
Well, we're talking about Section 31 again and how it compares to the JJverse. 3 JJ films. Maybe 4 eventually. We've been waiting. Maybe
they're trying to wait for them to age as much as Kirk did, Shatner did in the first one, to do the next batch. So it's like, oh, I feel old, Jim. But in those years, Shatner still had dark hair. He didn't think it was dyed. But Chris Pine's been grey for like 6 years, which is fine, of course. But I don't know. I don't know. No.
Yes. So yeah, talking about JJ films. A lot of people yesterday in the chat were saying that Into Darkness was the absolute worst. How does Into Darkness compare to Section 31? Well, I guess we're going to find out.
Yeah, and so yesterday, as you guys were here, we looked at the least liked of the classic films. Worst is always the wrong word, but any scale there is a worst. Even if you look at the top 10 films of all time, they're the worst top 10 film of all time, right? So this isn't a critique particularly, and even on these 3 films, everyone knows we like Star Trek Beyond. It's objectively looking at all 3 in this case and seeing what they do better or worse than Section 31. And in this case, seeing if there is one that's worse, if Section 31 is still worse. An interesting debate, because yesterday we found a few parallels especially. A few things that we could actively say, and I want to encourage, Section 31 did something better than the other things, as it's fair to do, right? So we're going to look at trying to look as fair as possible at 3 JJverse films in detail. I don't know if you looked at the slides, Stuart, but
I didn't go slides.
Yeah. So yesterday, I people tend to know the things that people don't like so much about those classic films. So I found an image that represented as many as I could, right? And some of the films had very a distinct visual, and some were so grand, the story, hard to summarize in a visual, right? So for Star Trek 2009, when I had to go in and find reference, if the other films I had about 7 or 8. For 2009, I had the equivalent of 4 slides pages worth of visuals of issues that people have with it, each one being a unique issue that fans have a problem with. Which is probably already a sign that it might be worse, but we'll find out. Because I was shocked how many distinct things the fans have issues with this film, but also I shouldn't be surprised because it's bloody Star Trek 09. Just saying. I'm excited to cover this, because again, we want to be fair between the 2 films. Yes, but we have a super chat, and then I'll start showing once we react to it.
We got the amazing Ray Ricks here, who had a birthday yesterday.
Happy boxing birthday!
Yes.
That's the thing for me, so.
Okay, 10 pounds. Spoilers. Section 31 is worse than all the JJ films. And yes, that includes Into Darkness and the BS Magical Resurrection triples.
Interesting. Can you say why? Because like I say, I found a lot of visual. Ooh.
A line says, well, I prefer Section 31. At least it's short. Wow.
And not an invalid point. Can you say... So I will, start sharing and see you all in a minute.
Yes, so it's going to give me a chance to tell you guys to hit like. 36 of you here, 14 likes. Let's get those likes up to 30. That's very doable. You guys are awesome. And you're also very doable. Too much? Okay, fine. Hit like. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell icon to all so you don't miss any content from us, whether it be live or edited content. And by all means, chime in. We want to hear your thoughts. Like Ray Ricks, chime in. Throw in a super chat. Let us know what you feel about the JJ films. Are they your favorites? A lot of people came to Star Trek with the JJ films being their first introduction to it. So, I mean, it's a good thing. It's getting people introduced to the franchise. But let us know your thoughts. Super chat in. Helps out the channel. Helps us out. Just hitting like helps us out immensely as well. All the things. Share it around. Do all the things. We appreciate you guys. Also, there is a join button down there. You can join the channel on YouTube here, or you can head over to Patreon/Trekyards and join us over there. There's a monthly way to support us. A lot of people do that, and we really appreciate it. So thank you, all of you guys that support us on a monthly basis. It means a lot, and we really appreciate that. So if you can, please do. Please help us out. Also, there are links down below to the Teespring and the TeePublic store. Yeah, check those out. There's some cool Trekyards merch in both. TeePublic has a sale on right now, so check that out and get some money off, or throw some other things in your cart. But yeah, use the links down below and check out TeePublic. So anyway, perfect.
Yeah. So before we... Oh, I should do a poll as well. Oh, yeah, because we do... Yeah, pretty sure. Okay. All right.
He's going to do a poll, everyone. So hit that like button, like I said. Let's get those likes up to 30. We can do it. No problem. Easy peasy.
So if I jump in this with... Okay, if you said, and as this is a discussion today, which do you think is worse, before we go into it? Star Trek Section 31 and 2009, and why? And this is before you deep dive, but the first reaction, brain state, what would you have said, and why, which is important?
Section 31's worse, because at least Star Trek Into Darkness has some Star Trek elements.
09?
Yeah.
09. Okay.
Oh, sorry, did I say Into Darkness?
Yeah,
sorry.
I just want to clarify.
I meant 09. Has a lot of Star Trek elements. There was trying to be like a kickoff of Star Trek, so it has a lot of Star Trek isms, a lot of visuals that work. There's a lot of good things in 2009. It doesn't exactly hold up, but I mean, there's a lot there that really works for me, and I think Section 31 is severely lacking in a lot of the Star Trek isms. It doesn't really feel like Star Trek in any way. We don't really get good ship shots. We get a lot of ship shots in 2009. Notice I didn't say good. I mean, some of them are framed well and done interestingly. It's the JJ prize, and it's not the best. So we do see other starships. We see a lot of stuff in this. So yeah, this one has a much more Star Trek vibe to it than Section 31 for me.
Okay, fair enough. So if I was to say which one's which, I've obviously now done the visual comparison, right? I've gone through. 09 feels very expensive, right? So that already is a strike for it, because it has a lot of sets, a lot of people, a lot of characters. The score is a lot better. The frenetic is obnoxious as all hell, but it is at least appropriate to the material that it's trying to do, right? Section 31 kind of varies. In fact, Red Letter Media, who I found out their review, they did
me too.
artificial zoom in. How would you call that?
Digital zoom?
Yeah, when you show it all in one go. Compilation, there you go. And it became obnoxious when you realised how much they did it. So I didn't notice it, apart from a couple of times, but it's really like, oh, that's a crutch they're using in terms of editing. So this makes sense in that regard. But, well, okay, but it is an alternate universe, 09, so a lot of the stuff can be chalked up, but just because the Narada came in and killed the Kelvin would not mean Bones McCoy would be born a different date before that incident. So the film still has insanely horrendous continuity errors that are far more egregious than Section 31. I mean, on a scale that is not even close. So that one thing alone showed they didn't even, like, even though they're saying it's a Star Trek film, they made error after error that a simple Google search would fix. Like the Enterprise being landed on the planet, right? These are off the top of my head. Like, things that are just actually broken that in Section 31 there's less of them, I would say. Happily less of them. And they feel more minor because the story is smaller, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why I'd say reaction. I would say Section 31 is much more mediocre piece that is like, but 09 does way more wrong than Section 31. But it's doing a lot more as well. Right? That'd be my critique.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah. But Mark Lawrence...
throws in $10 and says, can't stay today. Looks like I may be picked for jury duty. Oh no. I'm okay with the JJverse or JJverse since it acknowledged right away that it was an alternate universe.
Accept the logic of it.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Thank you, Mark, and good luck. I don't know if you like jury duty or not. But as I expressed in the intro, let's go through the the classic critiques of '09, and then see how that now put them in front of you, right? So, from start to finish, the lens flares, an obnoxious filming technique that is absolutely whatever. That they have blatant continuity issues that aren't caught, rebels, comm badge being lost between shots. They could fix it in post. There are loads of those little issues. The entire start, how does a black hole do the thing? Doesn't make sense. View screen window, the Kelvin bridge not looking appropriate in any way. The metal girders and concrete in the Kelvin, again, doesn't make sense. There's bad set design. Nero, not a good villain. Shallows all hell. The giant shuttle bay doesn't make sense. There's too many shuttles. The entire early Jim Kirk scene doesn't feel like Kirk. Young Spock getting bullied by Vulcans doesn't feel like Spock. The unnecessary violence and brutality of Kirk getting beaten up. The Enterprise has been built on the planet, doesn't make sense. Bones McCoy, she took everything but my bones is why it's not why he's called Bones, nor do they know each other then, nor is he the right age. Kirk being a womanizer for no he isn't a womanizer. Him doing the Kobayashi Maru in a disrespectful way that just feels like a child. Spock creating the Kobayashi Maru doesn't make sense either. The '09 bridge design of the Enterprise looks terrible, like from a Trek perspective. The outside of the ship looks terrible from a Trek perspective. The giant brewery interiors that look horrendous. The bridge window introduction that looks terrible. Red matter as a concept and how it's handled. Vulcan and the mum getting not saved by beaming, even though they saved them via beaming in an earlier sequence and a far more severe fall, which means she could have been saved. That was you killed his mum for no reason. Vulcan being destroyed, Kirk being sent off the ship, and Spock thinks it's a better idea than putting on the brig. Doesn't make sense. Happened to be next to the planet, which is the ship planet's not the same planet as the original series, which means it's not the same universe, and it's next to Vulcan, which has no moons except when it does. And then the monster chase for the bad action scene, and then finding Spock happens to be there with no reason, and then Spock seeing Vulcan dying and not affecting the planet doesn't make sense. Scotty being on the planet makes no sense. Transport beaming doesn't make sense. The water tube sequence is absolutely horrendous beyond belief. The entire set design is terrible. Spock punching out Kirk is a horrible sequence. Kirk then in command if there's an ensign and there are better people in charge, like Pike second in command, third in command, whatever. The warp effect, all the interiors of the brewery. The ending thing with the warp core ejection is broken. Spock not wanting to change the timeline at the end and basically condemn his entire universe to death and all of his achievements being killed, and then Kirk becoming captain at the end despite being Baron Ensign. So those are all the things that fans have problems with '09. And as you can tell, Stuart, that's a lot more than Section 31. Your thoughts, since I reminded you of the issues that fans have with the film.
It is a lot more than Section 31, but like I said, at least there's Star Trek here. They're trying. We've got Star Trek uniforms. We've got Star Trek ships. Yes, the bridge is awful. The interiors are awful. The concrete being inside of a ship is awful. The engineering's awful. The water tubes are awful. But we got shuttles. We've got uniforms. We've got the pretty good representations of most of the characters. Like Bones is spot on. Spock's pretty good. Kirk's At least they're trying. Where Section 31, it just, first of all, it's all new characters, so we kind of going in cold to begin with. This one was trying to invoke something in people, and unfortunately, it invoked a lot of the wrong things in some people. But like I said, there's still an element that when you watch it, you know they're trying to do Star Trek. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I think Galaxy Quest is a much better Star Trek movie than '09. But at least '09 has the Star Trek skin on it, kind of. It's more of a parody of Star Trek than anything, in my opinion. But, hey.
And it's tricky, because you're saying they're trying to do Star Trek, but they're not. They're trying to do Star Wars. It just happened to have some Star Trek on the skin, as you say. There's so many things that are actively not Star Trek, because they've got... It's like doing a Star Wars fan film, but having them wear Trek uniforms. No, not literally that much, but like... If the themes don't quite work, the tone doesn't quite work, the tech doesn't quite work, all those things, like, the skin should not be enough to define the piece. And I was kind of shocked how many things I refound that are just, like, horrendously broken in this film. For a script, plot perspective, right, just absolutely garbage. And it's also a long film, just remove that entire... Like, who thought having the scene with them in water tubes was a good idea?
It baffles me.
Yeah, like there's nothing that bad in Section 31, right? Like that one scene is worse than anything in Section 31 for me. Spock beating up Kirk on the bridge is more insulting to me as a Trek fan than anything. Section 31, Spock not wanting to save the universe, again, that's more insulting. It ruins Spock's character, and that's a problem. The continuity errors, like I say, that it just, you know, this is a far more infuriating film because it does a lot more failure. So I'd say this is substantially a worse film because it's trying to do more and it fails to do so much more. Whereas they could just, like, they're actually trying to make bad Trek to make their own Trek. Section 31 is trying to make non-Trek and fail to make a decent movie.
But it feels like a film. It doesn't feel like an episode of Discovery.
Yeah. And it's funny, we had a comment on one of our videos recently saying, you have to give Section 31 some more leeway because it's only made for TV movie, they have lower expectations. And I said, okay, I still expect good writing if you're paying writers, like, just pay good writers, right? And if you expect less from a film on streaming made for TV, does that mean you expect even less from indie film? Whereas indie films tend to have the best writing because a passionate filmmaker doing his best. So you'd expect less, but they do more. So why is that middle one? Why is it okay to say you have bad writing and made for TV, which is more expensive than most of the indies? And even things like Moon, right? Amazingly low budget film, writing's incredible, right? Like, it's not a good criterion to base things on.
Well, BJ throws in $2. Black Mirror's Trek film, USS Callister, was great. It was, yes.
I haven't seen that.
And Sergeant Montgomery, $2. 2 thumbs up for orbital skydiving. Well, I mean, that was supposed to originally be in Star Trek Generations, which the scene got cut. And yeah, they did have it in this film finally. So, yeah, this film showed a distinct lack of understanding of what Star Trek was and what made
some
it
disdain
work.
as well.
A little bit, yeah. I don't know which is more egregious, let's be honest. JJ trying to turn Star Trek into Star Wars, or Alex Kurtzman, who has all the control over Star Trek and just does not fucking understand it at all.
But Stuart, he helped make Prodigy and Picard Season 3 and Lower Decks, and they were all good. That's what people always say.
He just signed off on them, like, yeah, do your thing. There was no interference from him, you could tell. He was just an executive producer. He supplied the money. He made things happen behind the scenes. But
yeah, I always find ironic when people make that point because those things he had the least input in. So you're saying the things he didn't do were best. It's like, yes, that's what we've been saying. Not the things he was doing were good, right?
Yeah. Ray Rex, £5. Watching Section 31 as a Star Trek property was like watching Rebel Moon, which felt like a parody of Star Wars.
And I think that's what you said. No.
I was going to say, Section 31 didn't even try to be Star Trek. It just tried to be a heist movie, a Mission Impossible in space, a generic sci-fi Guardians of the Galaxy type storyline. With elements of Hunger Games and stuff that everybody's pointing out. It's like it stole from all these different things. And yet Star Trek, like, transporters weren't really focused on, ships weren't really focused on. Yeah, we got a wall of phasers and weapons, which is cool. We got a tricorder, which could just be from any sci-fi property. It doesn't even feel like a tricorder. So, I don't know.
But in this film, they designed a phaser which has stun and kill and thing rotates.
I know.
That's not, you know what I mean? That's equally as bad as just being a lazy this. It's a terrible idea. And we know the mechanism broke, so they stopped doing it. Yes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like you said, they both feel like parody films, just in different ways, right? One is a parody of a schlock action film that isn't very good. One's a parody where let's take everything good about Trek and ruin it, but keep it in Trek.
At least, Star Trek 2009 and JJ had the balls and the brains to say this is an alternate reality, so it can be divorced in the minds of a lot of the fans. Section 31 is still, as far as I know, still playing that prime timeline card, even though it's clearly the Discoverse. I've been saying that since it started with Discovery.
Although you say that, but they tried to make it more prime than other Discovery, the correct warp stars, the correct warp, the correct phasers. I mean, there's nothing in it that breaks visual canon per se.
Well, those videos that we've done haven't been released yet, so people might not know what the hell we're talking
Well,
about.
today the phaser came out.
Okay.
But those were trying, right? I mean, they were trying to keep it visual.
Yeah, but
canon.
not focused on. They're just in the background. And I'm glad. You said the phaser one came out today? Yeah. Okay. I'm glad because on that phaser wall, check out the video. There's no Discovery phaser. There's no Strange New Worlds phaser. There's a legit TOS phaser. There's a legit assault phaser from Star Trek 5 and 6. There's a Star Trek 3 phaser. And it's interesting. She would expect them to see a Discovery phaser there, and even a Strange New World one. Throw that in there. They didn't. So yes, that's interesting, but it's only a background piece, not focused on, not used. So yeah, that's a tough one for me.
But again, the phaser, it flipped. Red is kill, blue is stun.
I'm not saying I like it. I don't know.
But I'm just reiterating to the audience, like, there's always very much a point.
Silver too.
Yeah, you know it's funny. I'm now into Beyond because I'm not doing a fucking long time to get stills for. And what people don't like in Beyond? I'm scrolling like put like this, put like this, put like this. It's, you know, Beyond's got a lot less to talk about for this, obviously. Just saying. But yeah, it's what do people think? So this is about you guys interacting and your thoughts. So how do you feel as the audience? We want this interaction. Super chat your thoughts, comments, etc. 09 versus Section 31. Because like I said, I was really surprised to get back through is how many problems there are. And considering this is not that much longer movie, if you look at problem per minute, this thing is, you know, I mean, just the art design of the interiors, right? I can't believe the Kelvin interiors of the concrete. I can't believe the brewery. None of that stuff. Like that is them actively trying to piss people off, you know. Like at least generic sets are generic. Those things are actively trying to piss on Trek fans. Say, you know what's the future? A literal brewery with lots of metal pipes. They're also giant. And obviously, you mentioned at least JJ try to make it. They said different universe. He doesn't because the Kelvin interior is an okay bridge, but all the other interiors aren't remotely cannonable. Like you can't justify them, so they don't try. If they had made the Kelvin look like a TOS Kelvin or pre-TOS, and it'd be perfect, then it'd be like yes, but they're not trying. They actively don't. You know what I mean? They really aren't. They're fans. They're waving it off, but they're not doing practicing what they preach. And it's only, what, 6-7 minutes at the start? 10 minutes? So you could have done a full appropriate version and then move on, which would have been lovely. But they didn't. So what do people think?
Well, yeah. Ray Ricks, £5. Keep in mind, we are still talking about a screenplay for 2009 written by Kurtzman with the help of Roberto Orci.
Yep.
Yes, Alex Kurtzman's partner in crime.
Yep. They did it together. Yeah. It's amazing to think which is worse, the thing he helped do or the thing he helped do. Yeah.
And it's funny because in Star Trek Into Darkness, there's supposed to be a scene in Albert Marcus's office where you see an actual TOS Connie hanging from the ceiling, and they had filmed it, it's a thing, and then they decided to cut it out. So they were going to try to legitimize it a little bit and actually put in some Prime Universe reference stuff, and they just didn't. So
I mean, it still wasn't a perfect Connie, which wouldn't have made it was still not, you know, really 100%. But I believe it was meant to be. I believe it was called the Constitution. I believe 1700. I haven't seen the thing for a while.
But yeah, so yeah, that's a tough one because, I mean, Section 31 doesn't feel like a parody. It feels unrelated to Star Trek. It feels like a piece of Star Trek universe splintered off, and here we got this little movie that's kind of set there, but not. 2009 is like, take all these things of Star Trek that you know and love, and let's change it all and make it feel similar enough, but totally outside the realm of what could be possible.
So take the smart out of it.
Yes. Yeah.
And a lack of research. It's amazing that given the budget of this movie, they didn't just research what. Yeah, we're going to name a planet, whatever, Rigel 7. Let's not check what the planet is. Because it's not.
Yeah, it was the one from Mud's Women. It was.
There's a planet at the end of the quadrant, not an ice moon next to Volk.
It was also dry desert, like winds.
Like, so many things are just like Googleable, and Google existed in 2008 when they wrote it, or 2007. And like, we'll get into darkness, but misspelling Kronos, it's like, how? You know what I mean? Like, properly insulting sort of things.
Mhm.
And it would be interesting though, because this is not made for Trek fans. This film, like, not. It is not a Star Trek film made for Star Trek fans. Not at all. Right? It's made for everybody else. If you go to it see as a Trek fan, cool, good for you. But it's not made for Trek fans in any way. So it would be interesting if there was a way of like also like you didn't see Peter Capaldi's Doctor, did you?
I didn't see what?
Peter Capaldi's Doctor Who?
I did see Peter Capaldi.
Oh, okay. Well, there's an episode, if you recall, where it's revealed near the end, spoilers, that he's actually in a computer and he's an AI version of the Doctor. See how the world would react to any invasion simulation, and he's able to beat the simulation to tell the real Doctor that the thing's coming. And it was a mind-blowing kind of twist. Actually, I really, really enjoyed it. So if we could create a Splinter universe in 2009 and make one universe where if you were already a Star Trek fan, you were not allowed to see this movie in the cinema, right? Because it was made not for you. What would the audience be for the box office of non-Trek fans? Again, which is not the audience for this film, not the design audience. Would it have been like? Would they have even made any money? Because it's like, because that means the audience they're trying to get, would they have come to see the film, given how it looks like a cool action film, right? When you take the Trek out of it, was it a film that genuinely got audiences for the average person, right? If you take out the Trek numbers, I'd love to have seen, did it actually get the audience they were looking for? Yeah.
I gotta give 2009 one big piece of praise. The music's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
The soundtrack's great. Mm-hmm. Doesn't have any of the hints of the original Star Trek music, really, but it's a good soundtrack. I love the music in that film. So,
I mean, do you want me to heap on some praise? Because I can do some praise if you want.
Sure.
I mean, the intro is very dynamic and cool with the Kelvin. It's great, really epic. The music's excellent. Sound effects are great. The visual effects of the Narada are cool. I like Rabaul's uniform a lot. I've always liked that. I like the look of the villain guy, although he's terrible. But no, positive things. I like they made a phase on tricorder for the Kelvin scenes without actually ever using them. But at least they made them. That's cool. Yeah. You've never seen a ship on Earth. That's a really, really cool thing to see. It's a visually amazing sequence. Kobayashi Maru, that's cool. Young Spock, that's cool. Bones is amazing, of course.
Klingon warbirds that you see on screen but don't ever see are actually really good.
Zoe Saldana's attractive in this. That's nice. Ethan Peck's attractive. No, whatever. The men as well, I'm saying. Everyone's quite good looking, if that helps.
So is the Orion Slave Girl.
Oh yeah, Rachel's great. Okay, that's it. That's all I'm gonna say. That's I won't really give credit much in the last act because everything's bad about it, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I said some positive things. I wouldn't say the acting is particularly good. It's okay.
From Urban, like his McCoy's spot on. I think Spock's pretty good. Kirk is not Kirk. Kirk is just another action man, main guy, and that's fine.
But Spock is unbelievable because he literally chokes out Kirk.
Oh, I know.
I mean, he's not playing Spock. He's playing a guy called Spock.
Don't worry. In the next movie, he calms down a bit. He doesn't punch anybody in the face on top of a flying ship.
Very in Spock.
Oh wait, he does do that, doesn't he? Shit, they don't know anything about Spock.
Yeah. But you've got to give some credit, right? Section 31, in its distinctness, it's like Man of Steel, right? The fact that they were so tone deaf to have an action film where you can tell there are 1,000 civilians dying in a distinct universe where it's meant, you're not meant to kill people, right? That's a whole thing about Superman, right? They're so tone deaf in the second film, they deliberately were not in that city, right? They course corrected. In Star Trek Section 31, they made an instant day one point. This is not in Federation space. It's not a Federation station. Garrett's here to make sure we don't do bad things, but no one does murder. Like, the team is not hardcore murderers. They're just misfits. And they say explicitly, we can't send Federation people to a Federation job outside Federation space. So they do caveat why there's no Federation tech, which they did give us a little bit, but that's extra. And that explains why the weapons aren't going to be the same, the tech's not going to be the same, the ship's not going to be the same. Like, all that stuff is in universe. It's not pissing you off by having a brewery and a ship because fuck you. It's, well, this is not in Federation space, so we're not going to show Federation. Now, the story could be better, of course, but that's not what we're judging here, right? So at least the stuff that you say doesn't feel Trek is all on purpose and not in a cynical way. It's in a way that makes sense, and it's for the plot. Right?
Interesting.
Because the mirror stuff felt mirror. The stuff that we saw that was the Federation aesthetic, mirror version, that was all on point. So what they did show was all consistent and, you know what I mean? Like, they did what they were going for. Was it the right choice? Maybe not. But at least it was in canon to itself and it doesn't break anything. And because they didn't use any canon, they didn't mess with Melts and Ruins or anything. Like, none of that stuff's damaged. If anything, added to a little bit by these Hulk phaser, etc. Do you know what I mean? Surely a positive there?
You heard it here first, guys. Sam he loves Section 31. He's trying to sell it like it's his baby.
Yeah, that 3.7's never looked stronger. Alright, so guys, 69 of you here. Say what you want, but give us a vote right now in the poll. No, well, yes, in the poll, but 09 or Section 31. Throw in the comments, spam us with a quick which one. Yeah. Because, yeah, we're here to talk as long as he wants to talk. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
So, based on all of that, where are you going to come down on which is a worse film?
Worst film is easily Section 31. Worst Star Trek film. Because Section 31 doesn't feel like a film. It feels like an episode of TV for a streaming service. It doesn't feel big budget in any way. This, you can see budget all over the screen all the time.
Except the brewery. Except
the brewery.
Except half the sets.
That's where they lost. Yeah, exactly.
There's a huge disparity. Like, literally zero rent fee and then expensive. How much was 09 made for? How much do you want to guess 09 was made for budget-wise? At least the reported budget.
204 million.
I'm going to say 313. Do you want to do a revised guess or 204 is your guess?
I'll stay with 204, yeah.
Oh, 150. Okay, we over-exaggerated by
a lot.
A lot, yeah. Maybe they had less producers.
Oh, probably, yeah, absolutely they did. Yeah.
Oh, Captain Corgi, I can forgive 09 because it acknowledges its alternate universe. But it doesn't make sense from the start. And they do things that, like, just because it's a different universe doesn't mean Bones was born a different year. Like, there doesn't... And then Spock not saving the universe at the end. Like, he changed time to the whale probe, but it would... like, he saw Endgame, didn't see Endgame, but he was, Like, you lose all respect for Spock at the end of this film. Unless you accept as a full alternate timeline, then you accept that Spock doesn't ever see his friends again for his entire life, and he'd rather help, he throws away his entire unification career of 40, 50, 60 years just to help some refugees of Vulcan that is not his Vulcan. It's like, no, Spock would either save this universe by stopping Nero and allowing time to return to his universe, or he'd try and return to his universe with the Guardian forever. I know he's a senile old man, but it really hurts the Spock character, this film, the Prime Spock. But then you just think it's just separate, right? It's not really Spock. He's senile, but it really hurts his character.
Oh, it's going to be fun to review this when we get to this one.
Stuart, I've never watched it a second time, this film, out of protest. I've seen clips, but I've never watched the whole thing.
You only seen it once, all the way through?
I saw it in the cinema. I've never seen it again.
Well, I saw it like 7 times in the theater.
It's too bad. I've seen the first half a bit, but like I was scrolling through and I'm like, oh my god, yeah, I always forget about the warp cores, and I've never seen it a second time. I just refuse to.
Ejecting the warp cores. Why'd you have to say that?
Yeah, the 8 warp cores.
Pew, 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 pew. It's like, what?
And let's mass murder by shooting everything. It's a really bad ending. So yeah, I've never watched it a second time, so I'll watch it a second time with you. I'll break my fast. I've seen it once in for 15 years. I've seen The Darkness all the way through more than once. I don't know why I have, but I have. I think I've seen Beyond 3 times, I think.
Yeah.
That's what people are saying. Chuck says 2009 is much better than 2001. And Andrea says, realistically, Star Trek is an IP was largely dead for Nemesis, much like the incredible Star Trek Online, with no increase in player base. 09 being very, very difficult to the franchise. Yeah. Couldn't they have done it with a better film, though?
Yes.
Like, great, they made a bad film to jumpstart a franchise, and it jumpstarted it, and then hasn't have much social, like, footprint. Like, does anyone talk about these films except in a negative way anymore? Right?
Well, Mark says, I actually like the JJ movies. Yeah, and a lot of people do, and we're not knocking it for that. Like, some people, this was their introduction to Star Trek, and it got them into other Star Trek, and now they're huge Star Trek fans. And one person who actually, the JJ prize from this film is his favorite Enterprise, even though he's got into all the other Star Treks. And my mind cannot comprehend that in any way, shape, or form.
Well, it is just the refit, but with different nacelles. I mean, they stole most of the stuff from the refit, right? Like the little details and the, it's mostly derivative.
So I just don't understand it, and that's fine.
Yeah, and Mark, great. I mean, go back and rewatch all the things I listed out that are bad about it, because I don't think you can argue with any of these. Like, I went for some pretty solid, like rationale things that aren't just like subjective. Like, well, most of these are like actual, like, no, that's just bad, and
Oh, and Dave and Laura are here. I miss the old days of Trek more and more. Yes, good to see you. I'm glad you're back. You're never here anymore, man.
Yeah, we like friends of the channel. So Stuart, the poll is at 79 votes. Can we get to 280? It's just an interesting point. Then I believe you gave Section 01 a 5 and then a 4 or something.
4.3 or 4.2. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, so you gave it a 5 in our original review, and then a 5 in our second review. What would you give then? 9 out of 10, based on your. Just, again, we haven't rewatched it, just based on the internal memory of it.
When we rank the movies, we're going to have a two different scores. One for an actual cinematic experience, a movie, and one is a Star Trek film. So which score do you want? I
mean, whichever we can use to compare against what we've just done. Like, whatever metric you compared Section 31 with, that's the metric I'm asking for in this regard. To tell the audience how you'd compare them. Again, based on memory of it alone, because you haven't seen it in a bit.
I'd have to probably redo my Section 31 score, because if I'm honest, I was kind of in the mindset of scoring it like a Discovery episode, not a movie. So I might have to lower the score on the Section 31 score. But anyway, this one, as far as the Star Trek film goes, I'd give it a 5.6. Like I said, there's some elements of Star Trek in it that, at least they tried. At least they tried a little bit. So,
yeah.
And McCoy brings it up for me, too, because he's really good.
He is, and I'm glad his star continued to not necessarily rise, but get wonderful roles. Just loads of good stuff. And he looks so young in this film. After his scruffy first scene, once he shaves and looks nice, he's pretty young in this film. Yeah, I think if I was giving this a film score with all the criterion, right, without being specific, I would give it maybe a 3.5. Because it fails on so many, like, it fails as a feature film, like the film part of it, story and plot and characters and pacing and action and logic and like all those elements you need regardless of the Trek. So I'd give it in the 3s. I wouldn't, it's well below average for a film because it's just so poorly made, the film part. Interesting to see how I think when I rewatch it, because then when you watch it though, the characters kind of sell you, turn your brain off and you enjoy it. This version, I'm reviewing the things about it, not the reliving it. Although should a film be good because you enjoyed watching it or because it's a good film, right? I don't know. Both. Well, yeah, both.
They're different metrics, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it can be this is for a stupid summer blockbuster where you go to the theater, you smack on popcorn, you watch a movie for 2 hours, and then go out and do something else. Mm-hmm. This is a pretty fun ride. There's always action going on. There's a lot of great visuals.
Yeah.
That's a different metric.
Well, yeah, if you're not a Trek fan and you just want to, because you don't most films you go and see in the cinema, you don't go away thinking of days later. You enjoy it and you move on, right? And that's fine. Most films aren't designed to be, whatever. I think if you're looking at action film, it's got to be in the 7s or 8s because it's action and epic. But you wouldn't know this stuff doesn't make sense because you're not a Trek fan. Like, I'm taking points away for stuff that's broken. You don't care who Spock is if you're not a Trek fan. Like the old Spock, you don't care. Why would you? And that's fine, right?
Lower part of our screen's white there. You might want to scroll up a bit.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. But
which is a good thing, right? Because it wasn't made for us. It was made for random people. So the fact that it's a 7 or 8 for that sort of score is a good thing. And they get spell appeal to Trek, hopefully. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Right, do you want to finish out the polls, Stuart?
No.
Well, okay then.
But I will anyway. Which is worse, Section 31 or Star Trek 2009? Section 31 wins with 87%. Star Trek 2009, 13%. These are all the same numbers from yesterday.
A little bit less, though. There's a bit more dislike towards 09, which I appreciate.
Yeah. Interesting. Now, into the unspeakable awfulness.
Well, yeah.
Star Trek into awfulness. I mean, darkness.
Well, I found less images for Into Darkness, like way less. So I think there's less technical, like Trek canon issues with it. I don't know. We'll get there in a second. I'm just loading them up because there are still quite a few, but
yeah, no problem.
Yes.
I'll tell everybody to hit the like button. We have 69 viewers, which is great, but we have 47 likes, which could be better. So hit the like button if you're just joining us, or if you just haven't hit like since you've been here. Please hit like; it helps us out immensely. And yeah, we are going to continue our discussion and move into the next one in the JJverse film catalog. Yay!
Oh, and in clarity, I would say 09's a worse film than this film because it angers me more. The other one, I'm apathetic by its issues in comparison. Yeah. But I think that was clear from early on. So
yeah, it's this one. It's the whole premise of that bothers me because they're just trying to do Star Trek 2 again and lied about it, and that just annoyed me.
We have to lie, otherwise there's no twist, which sort of makes the film worthless. So you can't exactly tell people. It's like you're lying that a cameo came back, as in a guest actor. It's like, well, you lied. You said you weren't in the film. Or like there's 3 Spider-Men, right? You could say, well, you lied. The 3 Spider-Men are in it, you bastards. It's like, yeah, but if we told you, it wouldn't have been as fun. So I'm not gonna, they were just dumb for making it in the first place.
Yes.
Okay, so I have quite a few images for this film. Although a lot of them are like the same-ish plotline-ish, just sort of. It's a lot less happening in the darkness. I think it's a lot more like focused. So a lot of it's. God damn it, slides.
Be patient with us. We're getting there. 66 people here, 51 likes, guys. Hit that like button, please.
That was
appreciate it.
So, Stuart, if you were asked Star Trek Into Darkness or the Section 31, what would you then say was worse and why in the mental memory of it? And yes, my Chrome has crashed.
I would still say Section 31 because there are elements to Into Darkness I enjoy. And it's a tough thing to say. It's got a good, fun action vibe to it. It feels like a fun sci-fi movie. But when you start to think about the Star Trekness of it all and how cheap and unimaginative it is to just recycle the plot from Star Trek 2, even though it makes no sense in this timeline, it angers me. So it's a tough one for me because I do enjoy watching it, but I have to turn my brain off to enjoy it. And then you get the whole Spock punching Khan out on top of a moving ship scene, and I'm like, why is this happening? They don't understand Spock at all. Clearly.
Spock is known for his action scenes.
Well, apparently, yeah. So yeah, it's one of those things. I enjoy the film enough. Like, it's a fun ride, and I mean, Carol Marcus is a bright spot. But there's a lot of it that just pisses me off. So it's a tough one. If I'm watching as a Star Trek fan, it angers me. If I'm watching it as, like I said, turn my brain off, just enjoy a good action movie, it's kind of good. It's kind of fun. it's kind of like some of the blockbuster hits, like like Bad Boys or something, where it's just like action, action, action. So I don't know. I'm rambling at this point. I don't hate it as much as a lot of people do, but it is the worst of the three, in my opinion. The first one I have some special memories from, because that was like me and Sylvia's first date. To go see that fucking movie in the theater. Stuff like that. I don't know. Oh my god, just from these pictures I'm remembering stuff that I had forgotten. Oh my god.
Yes.
Enterprise underwater.
I get the Chrome crash killed all my preps. I gotta do it again. Can you put the poll in while I reset this up again? Sorry.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Bear with us, guys. We will get there.
Yeah, slides isn't like that many things, and we have a lot of things, unfortunately, for this. But vote now. Let us know just internally which one you think is worse and why. I'm going to get to the common complaints of Into Darkness in a mo. And a lot of these are the Trekkie perspective, because, of course, it's a Star Trek fan. You can judge it from a Trek perspective. If you can't, then why call it a Star Trek film? You shouldn't call it a film that's not Star Trek. Because you're making it for Trekyardians, except you're not. But whatever.
Yeah. Alright, go vote in the poll, guys. It is up. Which is the worst film, Section 31 or Star Trek Into Darkness? Now, this will be interesting. Because like I said, a few people yesterday in the chat came in just guns blazing. Into Darkness is the worst out of all of them. It's like, whoa, relax.
Whoa.
I think a lot of people feel that way because they felt lied to. They felt betrayed when this came out because of the John Harrison thing not being Khan.
Or being Khan.
That's what I meant. Like,
yeah,
it's not Khan, it's John Harrison. Oh, this guy's named John Harrison. Oh no, my name is Khan. It's like, really? So you were not lying, but you were lying because you said it's John Harrison, character we've never seen before. Which
would have been great.
But
brand new Section 31 agent would have been great. Great choice for villain, right?
I suppose so.
Like far more interesting than Khan because you can go somewhere with that. You know, Section 31 villain gone rogue, amazing power of punching. I don't know. Like that's far more interesting than Khan because it's terrible as Khan. As Khan, I say, not as himself. Because I actually remember distinctly in the cinema, like obviously we all heard the rumors he's Khan. He doesn't look, feel, or sound like Khan or act like Khan. So you think as an audience member, no, okay, those rumors are wrong because he's not Khan clearly. And he says it, and I remember literally saying, I remember groaning in the cinema, being like, oh, they did it. Like, actively groaning out loud. Because the cinema's quite loud, so I felt I could do that. Oh, God. Films shouldn't make you groan out loud at a terrible plot point. Viscerally. And I did. Viscerally was unhappy with it in the cinema. Which was funny, because the opposite happened in Beyond. When they mentioned the Xindi, I was like, hey! And the photonic torpedoes, and they all kind of linked together. I was like, hey, that's nice. That's a nice shout.
Yeah.
That was a good idea. Good idea, well done.
I got to admit, I haven't seen this one much. I've only watched it 3 times. But, yeah.
I mean, it's a terrible film. I mean, they're both terrible films. They should be embarrassed they made them. They're embarrassing films to make. Like, just to really be embarrassed.
One of the worst things is they actually got Leonard Nimoy back for this one to, like, chime in. Hey, look.
They filmed it in his office.
Yeah.
All right. So what are the audience saying? Obviously, Chrome Crash. I have no longer chat. What do the people think? Any super chat thoughts, guys?
No super chat thoughts. No.
I want you guys' comments.
People were saying we were conned.
Yes.
Wah, wah. Did Admiral RoboCop play almost the same character on it in Enterprise?
No. Not really. I wouldn't say. All right. So the common problems fans have with now again you cannot agree with all these. That's what you find. These are common things people say, varying in scope and scale. Right. For Star Trek Into Darkness, you've got the introduction the illogical running through a forest to steal an artifact to get the aliens away from a volcano. It's super unlike Kirk, and it's their first contact, pre-warp. I mean, it's just unlike Kirk or TOS. The cold fusion matrix they've admitted in post-interview doesn't make any sense. There's no logic. It just sounded cool, which can freeze a volcano. The Enterprise in the water, deliberately coming up right next to the aliens, therefore breaking the Prime Directive in mission when they didn't have to do it. It could have been in orbit and achieved the exact same goal. Dumb. Spock, I guess, committing suicide, because that's the plot. Kirk then getting made to be taken off command of captain, given he's only been a captain for a couple of years and he's not even old enough to be lieutenant yet. And then by the next scene, he's captain again, which sort of devalues that entire scene. Having a threesome with aliens, he's a womanizer. Ridiculous tech of John Harrison's face, that zooming, while cool, it's illogical.
Yeah.
You've got the let's get all of the captains together for a meeting that's not really doesn't make sense by itself anyway, and then murder them all. That's dumb. Khan just entirely, just the performance of Khan, not of Cumberbatch, just the character of Khan is commonly disliked. Khan, no security, no able to go up and shoot everybody and murder them all. Doesn't make sense. Pike's death, no one likes that. One of the best parts of the first movie, that's terrible. Khan transport beaming across the galaxy, just ruins beaming. Yes, it's in the novel that they did it to a ship, but it's not in the script, therefore it's not in the film, therefore no. So that doesn't work. What's his name? Robocop having the secret ship on his desk. Again, common complaint. The terrible set design again of using the lab, the real world set to be engineering. It's entirely unbelievable and a terrible set. The huge inference of the love triangle or love subplot with Spock and Uhura. It's fine in many other films, but it's really detracting from the film in this. The kind of Klingons, that's all a medium dislike. I think they're okay, but some people have problems with them. The set design, look at that corridor next to Khan's face, it's just piping. Again, awful set design. The entire I am Khan scene, pretty much universally hated. I am Khan. You know they're not going to know who you are, right? Probably. Or, well, they didn't, so. Phoning Scotty from Kronos in real time. Can't do that. You can't do that. You can't on a communicator. You can't do it. The bridge window again. The torpedoes that they can tell, like the payload's not in them because you'd scan them and see no payload, and they never address it. The fact that Scotty goes up to a Section 31 secret ship facility. There's no security for, and he gets in without security. Illogical beyond belief. There's nothing. It's just a giant plot hole, just broken. The villain ship is just a big black ship, big because equal power. It's dumb. The only cargo thing on the entire ship is that. That's the only cargo door on the entire ship is that small hole. That's what they have to go through. Doesn't make sense. That's Star Trek Beyond. Spock coming in, telling him who Khan is, doesn't work as a scene. It's good to see him, but that's clickbait, fan wank, whatever. The terrible choice of having that open space in the middle of the saucer, because the entire saucer's hollow, illogical. You wouldn't build that for a ship if you have air go out, everyone dies. It's just terrible design. Again, the brewery, the warp core is absolutely horrendous. The replicating Wrath of Khan death, but much worse. Vengeance crashing, killing loads of people. The tribble, you can't put human blood in a tribble and make it work. That doesn't work. The fight with Khan is just ridiculous. Punching Khan, and then Kirk being brought back to life with an infinity life serum. So those are the common concerns. Did I miss any, Stuart? Because I think there are more. I just can't remember. I just didn't see them as I was going through. Connie.
You're missing one at least.
Oh, okay.
You said the beaming across the galaxy. Yes, that's definitely one. But also the Enterprise getting from Earth to Kronos in like a day.
Mm-hmm. And back in a day, pretty much.
Yeah.
And misspelling Kronos, which is
That's how it's spelled in that universe. It's fine.
It's the same universe, they already said. As in, it diverged at Kelvin, which means they're not going to change the name of the planet. That wouldn't change the name of the planet, would it?
That's not how that works, but that's okay.
Well, it wasn't the first two, then...
It's the Kelvin timeline, so that's why Kronos is spelled with a K. Because it's Kelvin for K. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, Simon Pegg improves it, but it's just not how they show it in the film, unfortunately.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else off the top.
It's less than 09. I found way more in 09 by a good 10-15%. So is that worth noting that it has less issues in 09? As in pure number, just going number.
Probably, but I think some of the ones in this one are more egregious. That might.
Which ones hit you as more egregious then? I think we'd have
the Enterprise underwater. No need for that. That's the stupidest goddamn thing ever. It's a cool visual. I get it might be required for some missions. Definitely not this one. Yes, orbit is much better, but people cannot see you from orbit. Simple. Yes, Khan being a big plot reveal. No, you're not, because they don't know who the fuck you are. My name is Khan. Yeah, Khan Indian Singh. You might come up and they studied you in history.
I am Paul Potts. Okay, I am Stalin. There's a few of them, right, throughout the years.
But there's no personal connection that makes it impactful in any way.
And they play it as if there is.
Yeah, it loses all that punch.
Because it's funny, because it would have been a really good scene. Because I am Khan, and Kirk's like, and the music falls, and it's like, who? What? You've not heard of me? And then Spock brings up a pad and it's Multibon, and they're like, you're not Khan. I am Khan. Like, you play it for what it's worth. And then, like, you know what I mean? Like, that would have been really kind of entertaining. And you see Multibon, because it is still Khan. That would have been really good.
Yeah.
Anything else he thinks then more... I mean, the fact that Scotty goes up to Section 31 base and there's no plot reason how he got in.
Yeah.
It's just a giant plot hole. It's like, what are you on about?
Again, the engineering set, yes, being that actual lab, and also still a brewery, because they did film some scenes in a brewery still. That's completely awful, and it's absolutely unforgivable for a sequel. You had a good idea and concept for an engineering set for the first film, which you ran out of money for and couldn't make. Make it for this one. But no, they're not going to do that.
Oh, Rochester says the 09 film was great. Explain. So it was pretty terrible.
Yeah, and then the reverse, Kirk dying, and also realigning the warp core by like smashing it down when that's not how that would work, but that's okay. And
well, it doesn't in the Kelvinverse.
And then Spock screaming, God.
Had seatbelts though.
Sure.
That's a point. And there's a tribble. That's Trek.
Yeah.
That's Trek. You know it. It's Trek. And it's sad because the reverse of the Khan death could have been a really great homage, because it's interesting, right? Swap the roles. How do they approach it differently? But because both characters are so unrecognizable as Kirk and Spock, like compared to Nimoy, that there's zero. The way it plays is not the same. So therefore, the reversal doesn't work. Had it been played like they'd mature into Nimoy and Kirk or Shatner, then you'd be like, oh, okay, this is a really interesting way of doing it. And then Spock has to think his way out and then bring back Kirk. But they don't. They make it a stupid action beat and to yell and then to jump and to vengeance. It's just, you instantly know that's not Spock, because then they play the scene. It's like, oh, that's not Spock.
Yeah. And also, it's just instantly undone. Like, he's just alive again. There's no stakes. It's not like carried over to the next movie, although we would have known what would have happened. But still, the way it's played is really not good. You did forget one thing in this. That's the stupid gray military uniforms with the hats, which look way too regime-y for Starfleet.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
All right. I don't think that's a common giant complaint. I was trying to go for the most general.
I think that's a giant common complaint.
Really? They're so boring. Yeah. I've almost no thoughts about them.
Anyone in the chat think those uniforms and hats are stupid? With the stupid military flyover as well, with jets, no less. It's fine.
Space jets. Yes, Ninja Chris, it is absolutely. In terms of plot holes, we talk about Section 7 having several.
Yeah.
I mean, the lens flares are more obnoxious than anything in Section 31 because they're constant. That's definitely it makes these films worse. Like in terms of watching them, especially the first one, right? Plot holes. What plot holes does Age of Darkness have? I mean, the distance. That's a plot hole. That doesn't work. Tribble, the ending, just the ending in general is plot hole and stuff, right? You can't do all that stuff. Oh, the
Section 31 existing and building this huge ship in the solar system, no less, behind Jupiter. It's not like it's a huge secret, like it's somewhere another solar system where there's no life.
Which, given you can beam anywhere and warp anywhere in the day, have it frickin' the Delta Quadrant. Fuck it, right? Right? If they don't care, have it somewhere really cool. Certainly a plot hole. The idea that they think Khan's a good, the fact that an admiral, clearly an admiral in Section 31, or he wouldn't have the ship and the uniform and the badge, and he's a Section 31 admiral, right? The fact that he thought that a guy from 1996 could build better spaceships to defeat the Klingons.
Is that the reason? I thought it was just this tactical mind that they wanted.
No, is to build the ships, to design the ship. They link into the ship design specifically because he helped design Vengeance, which is why he can steal Vengeance, because he knows he helped design it.
Because he invented the aft nacelle.
And it's fine because, again, if you'd framed it better, you can argue that give Khan enough time to learn. If he learned all the technical manuals, he could deliver unique perspectives. Those perspectives could design new tech that's useful. Like that's fine. It's not the way they framed it.
Well, they just used his tactical mind. He took over like a quarter of the planet during his reign. Like, he was definitely a military tactician and leader, right? So they could have incorporated that in some way, which I thought was the case, but I guess not.
No, that's it. And that's fine. Yeah. Say he was a genius tactician. We need a genius tactician against the Klingons, because they could warp to and from their planet to our planet today.
In a day. Yeah.
Wars are real quick in the Trekyards.
The other egregious thing is the warp tunnel fight, where the Enterprise gets blown out of the warp tunnel.
See, I saw that and didn't include that. I don't know. I didn't think there's anything people thought, whoa, about that. What's
that whole and warp, and the Enterprise goes sideways and out of the warp.
But aren't those just cool visuals, like in vein of just cool visual fraction films?
I personally hated it. I thought it was stupid.
I have no thoughts about it. It's a cool action visual. Like, it's not warp, right? Well, no, I just mean, like, I didn't even think, like, those I wouldn't have... what do you expect from this film, right? It's just in beat with what they do.
R2-D2's in it. He's in the first one too, but that's fine.
Yeah. I don't know, this one doesn't piss me off quite as much. I think because I think the characterization's better in the sense that they aren't playing not them for half the film. They start as their characters and they end as their characters. So you get you more time with them. And Chris Pine is more mellow in this, which helps. Like, he gets to be Captain Kirk more, so you don't waste so much time. Spock is Spock more until the end, where he's not Spock. I don't like that Scotty's off ship the whole time, but also I like the fact that he quits because it's horrible. So it's kind of a good thing, but also kind of annoying. Zoe Sal's in it. McCoy's in it. I mean, they're not really, prominent. I don't know. Pisses me off less than the 09. It's its own thing, right? It's not trying to connect to Prime. It's just its own unique thing. How are the poll results doing? Ooh.
This one's hated a little bit more than 2009. Ninja Chris says, wasn't Spock in a volcano at the beginning? I can't remember why they needed to do that, but it made no sense. Because the volcano was going to explode and kill this tribe of people. So Spock was in there with a cold fusion bomb or something that he detonates, and it freezes the lava.
Yep.
That's why.
Yep, and they had to put the ship under the water to beam him in there.
Water amplifies the transporter emitters. That's why, I don't know. Stupid.
Yep. I mean, beam them from orbit. But I guess they had to get him in trouble to get him de-captained. But again, he becomes captain like 2 scenes later. It's a moot, right? It's an entirely moot scene, so it kind of wastes time.
Yeah. George Mangrum, no member for 56 months.
Oh my God.
Lieutenant. So thank you, Lieutenant.
Thanks so much.
Have you ever seen those Cations again? Weren't they from the northern continent? They were. They're very uncat-like.
Is that what they were called in this?
Well, they had cattails.
Oh.
They weren't really called anything, but it was assumed they were Caitians.
Hmm.
I mean, they're just aliens at that point.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's compare then, because the first film is very much origin story. How do the stories compare between Section 31 and Into Darkness? Irrespective of the plot holes, the actual story and how much story there is, which is worse, which is better, and why?
Well, this one has the Admiral who dethaws a genetically superior human, which, the augment laws. Oh, hold on a second.
And it's funny, both have kind of augments as well. All right, guys. I mean, I really want to know via Super Chats, maybe like even $2. Which do you? I just like logic in my films, and 691 has a bit more logic compared to the JJ stuff, which is trying to piss you off as a Trek fan. Which do you think is worse or better? Phoenix, in fairness, this is still a better Section 1 story than that. Kind of. I mean, the only Section 31 in the film is the initial bit, and then it skews into something else. This is they fight Section 31 the entire time, and they're also not clandestine because they build a giant gunship. But in this universe, they're more weapon themed. Superfluous, or how you pronounce that. The only redeeming quality of Star Trek Into Darkness, which might say above Section 1, is ILM at least worked on it. Yes.
Sorry about that. I'm back.
That's okay. People pointing out that this movie has much better CGI than Section 31.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I do love the scene too, where Khan and Kirk are like going from ship to ship and they're dodging the debris and stuff. Really great scene. Not very Star Trek, but definitely good, well done action scene. So give them credit for that.
Yeah, and it's funny, both the first two films have an almost identical skydiving scene. In terms of the way they're shot, at least.
This is also the Enterprise with the banana struts, if I recall correctly. The struts are different than in the first film, and it's not as good. They're more swept back.
That's the Beyond one, I think. This one has the bigger impulse engine. This one's pretty much the same between.
Okay.
Because remember, they blow that one up specifically, so they invent the bad Enterprise and then blow it up.
Well, it's always bad, but yeah.
Yeah.
That a giant shopping mall thing in the middle of the ship in the saucer with like walkways. Like you said, if there's a hull decompression, you can't really seal that off. I mean, I'm sure there are force fields that would go up, but it's much more advantageous to have an actual deck where you can seal a deck instead of this huge shopping mall thing in the center of the saucer.
I just don't get it. Like, it's a giant set. A giant set with open space. That's the entire saucer.
Yep.
And the brewery is the entire secondary hull.
And the shuttle bay.
Oh, and the shuttle bay.
Shuttle bay takes up a huge chunk of that secondary hull.
Like, I know you don't really get to see any crew in these films, as in, like, secondary people, but why don't they care about the logic of internal space? And I mean, again, those two shots together, literally a brewery, and literally just open whatever. I mean, Gene would be so embarrassed. Gene and Matt Jeffries. I mean, just goddamn embarrassment of, like, this is what my legacies come down to. Here I was trying to turn, $97 into really clever sci-fi, futuristic, logical, progressive, militaristic sets. And these guys just filmed at the Duff Beer plant 6 miles away. And they didn't even take the stickers off the walls saying, beer. I don't know if they did. I don't know why they'd remove stickers. I don't care, right? Like, it's just so illogical. And it's insulting, right? Like, these JJ films try to insult the Trek fans. That's why you can't look at Trek films, because they're trying to insult you. But if you're not a Trek fan, then big open space. Of course they have a giant open. I don't know how big the ship is. I don't know. Why would I think about that? Breweries, of course, they hold the fuel or the water for the people to drink. Of course I would. Right? These are not made for Trek fans. It's nice if you like them, but yeah, like it's just the more you think about them, they're just not. Yeah, they're barely made for people, right? Just plot hole beaming to. And actually, do they even mention, like in the film, if Khan can beam to Kronos, why don't they ever mention why don't we beam to Kronos? Because it'd be quicker to chase him, right? Like by the film's own logic.
Because he has a special device to do that, which they don't have because they didn't. I don't know. And then what's the matter? We can get there in a day by warp.
Yeah, but I mean, if you could chase him, you could beam to the same location, just walk after him. Because I can't recall if they said he had a special beam unit. Because he beams out of his cockpit, and he's sitting and looking, right? So he's not exactly doing anything special, and the ship gets blown up fine. But they'd have scans of the ship before it blew up. So if he had some sort of weird beaming, they'd have scans of the tech and activating. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just don't remember the men mentioning we could just be like, yes, we won't have a ship, but if you just beam 3 guards next to him and shoot him in the back with stun, like you've got him, right?
Yeah. Mark Lawrence is free. He didn't have to do jury duty, so good.
Oh, congrats! I think
that's awesome. Yes, that's a good thing. Sussy Guru 2005 euros. Khan. My name is Khan. Who? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, JJ, it exemplifies JJ's laziness, that he's just copying the other films. And that's what annoyed us going in, because we're like, is he going to do that? No, of course not. This person's John Harrison. Oh, okay. Khan doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things unless you get Space Seed, unless you get that personal history with Kirk, and it's not here. So yeah, he was the leader of the Augments, the started the eugenics wars. That's a big deal, sure, but that's not what makes Wrath of Khan good. Just for the record. So yeah, I just hate the laziness, the mystery box approach of JJ. I don't know.
And you know, if you as a producer had told me, right, hi there, you know, we need to do Wrath of Khan again, but obviously without the structure of the Wrath of Khan prequel, Space Seed, you could do a really interesting film where a different, like, a Khan is brought, like the basic premise, the 101, Khan from the past reawakened, let's say a year ago, bides his time, works for Starfleet for a year, is able to walk around the public and live a life and build up his thing. He has his augments, either they're pawns or he's using them. He helps design new weapons that are very aggressive, because he's aggressive. He makes the Federation far more militaristic as a threat to take on the Klingons. The Klingons have to react because he's making us more militaristic. Section 31 is booming because he's like, they're just doing a good job together. And then he goes rogue because he now is at a point he can do his dance plan. He's learned all how to work everything. He's learned the tech. He's Khan with all the knowledge, and without that three-dimensional thinking inability, which Space Seed Khan has, because he never got into space. This Khan has all the knowledge of the future. He's learned it all. How is that ruler now a threat now? Great. That's a really interesting idea, right? Super cool. And then you say, how does this crew, who sort of knows each other but sort of doesn't, so they haven't the same rapport as Space Seed of all the team. They don't have the personal connection with Khan, but now they're facing the Emperor Khan versus some guy who's at a date, like proper full power Khan. Even so much as you could say he started augmenting people background, like he's got an army of 5,000. Like you could really make that concept interesting, right? And he changed his face because he wants to be limey. I don't know. There's some reason you could probably make him that. You could make it really interesting, and they didn't.
One thing you didn't put in here that a lot of people have problems with this movie is the Carol Marcus scene, where she's like, "Would you turn around?" And she's changing in her underwear, because that's one scene that people have an issue with. Now, Carol Marcus, I enjoyed seeing her in this. I think Alice Eve did a really great job. It was great seeing her. She was nice to look at, so I have no problem with that. I wish she would have been carried over to the next movie, but Anyway, yeah, so she's a highlight in this movie for me. And that scene, I have no issue with it personally, but I mean, I can understand why people might.
Well, yeah, well,
It's there for sex appeal. It is for sex appeal. It's a blockbuster popcorn movie, a summer popcorn movie.
and also you see Kirk without a shirt on, which is there for women's sex appeal. Why is he with a shirt off in a scene with ladies? Why would he have a nightshirt on to hide his naked chest? Because sex appeal, right? And I didn't include that scene on purpose because it's like liked and disliked in equal measure for different reasons. And it's not a thing that makes the film bad.
Yeah.
It's a odd thing that stands out, although she's lovely in it, and it's kind of cute. And if it was part of their thing, you know, and you could have improved it obviously just by having him having to change as well. I can't remember the scene exactly, but if he has a change, they both turn around or look in the mirror, like make it more mutual. Then it's kind of cute, right? One side makes it kind of weird, but two sided makes it kind of cute.
Yeah.
But I didn't put it on purpose. I think it's also liked by a lot of people, and it's certainly a highlight of the film in some people's eyes. So,
yes,
you know.
Ray Ricks, though, £5.
Ooh.
He stole Scotty's plans for the transwarp device from the development place at the start of the said film. They could have built another. Yes.
They didn't say that though.
That's supposedly why he bombed that facility. But which was weird because the guy was like fully cooperating. He had his ring. He put the ring in the water. It did the thing. Like he knew he was going to die. What hold did they have over him? Was he Section 31?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that whole base was a Section 1 base. Yeah, I mean, even if that base destroyed, the head of RoboCop would have access to the plans to build another one, or would have one on his desk. Like they would have another working unit to beam after him. I don't believe for a second Khan stole the single unit, etc., right? Like no, if it yeah. And also did it from a shuttle. I never got the sense in the first film, 09, that you could transport beam with a little unit. Like that took his entire network of systems on a colony. Like it was a thing they did versus a little box. It's like it's a bit too fancy for that, especially in TOS tech, which doesn't really, you know, whatever. And if it's not in the film, then it's a moot point, right? Because they don't say in the film.
Oh, Ray Rick says Scotty said it, so yes.
What, that he bombed it to do?
Yeah.
Well, if neither of us caught that, that's interesting.
Brett Dean, I can't vote for either in the poll. We've been saying this is or isn't Trek. To me, Trek should be smart. They used to have a science advisor.
Well, apparently they do now, or have now.
Yeah.
And yet. Alright, so Into Darkness. 85 votes, worst film. Is it Section 31 or Into Darkness? Section 31 still wins. So even though, as you said yesterday, Stuart, many people threw in their hats, this is the worst film, you as the audience are right now saying that despite a decade of complaining, you all, I mean most of you, right, beyond a high percentage, say Section 31 is a worse film than Into Darkness. Is everyone confirming? Yes. Yes.
I think
yes.
so. I think so.
What do you, after our long debate, Stuart? What are you going to say? Is Section 31 better or worse than Touching Into Darkness? Your final say on the matter. Can we just
Worse.
Okay.
Section 31 is worse. Like I said, this is a fun film for me. I do enjoy watching it. A lot of it pisses me off, like the Enterprise underwater, stuff like that. There are things that really annoy me with this one, but I do enjoy watching it. It's got some fun vibes for me, so it's one of those guilty pleasure things. I kind of watch it to like hate watch it and rage a little bit, but at the same time I still enjoy the action, and I think it's a pretty well put together enough movie. It's nothing really bad as far as plot or like plot hole wise, except for the distances that really bothers me. But
and the Scotty going into the facility and Kirk becoming captain again.
It doesn't really bother me though.
Well, I'm saying they're plot holes, right? They're still plot holes.
Plot conveniences.
Well, yeah.
But no, Section 31 is, I would absolutely much rather watch Into Darkness than Section 31. So, yeah.
I think my closing thought is I think probably Darkness is a worse film than Section 31 because it has so many more plot problems than Section 31. It makes more bad set choices, more bad costume choices. It actually tries to piss off fans of the Wrath of Khan. It tries to annoy you as a Trek fan, so it's actually disrespecting you in a way that maybe they intended to be good, but it actively angers fans in a way that Section 31 doesn't. It's just, again,
but
angering fans is worse than not caring because they're making a point to do bad things, and so I think the quality of the film is worse. And like I said, loads of plot holes are just like, oh, just no.
But it's nice to look at. We're not on a goddamn dreary, piss-filtered planet for half of the goddamn things. So.
I think because I'm a writer, I focus on the writing side of things. So that sort of stuff pisses me off more because you can always fix the writing. Visuals just hang off to a different company, right? Like someone else has done it. Whatever. I don't know. So I'd say that's the worst film for me. But I do enjoy some bits of it as a ride. I just really can't think about it. It's definitely a less logical film than 09. Yeah. Alright, Star Trek Beyond, the third in the trilogy. Arguably the worst of the three because it's the most like Star Trek. And they aimed to not make Star Trek films, so they failed. But guess what? When you replace the writers, the directors, and the producers, you make a Star Trek film. Crazy. Crazy, Stuart. Crazy.
Yeah, it absolutely is the best of the three, for sure. For multiple reasons, but...
So if I said to you, again, the initial reaction, what is worse, Section 31 or Star Trek Beyond? What would you say and why?
Easily Section 31. Because the Star Trek Beyond, again, has Star Trek in it, which is nice. And they actually did course correct from the other movies to kind of fall more in line with what the fans wanted a little bit. So, again, give them props for that. Well, the fans, yeah.
Well, but they made new fans from...
Did they, though?
Yeah, apparently. Right? I don't know.
But yes, Section 31 is much worse than Beyond.
So I've done this kind of one and a half times now. What are the worst things of Beyond? What springs to mind for you? The sort of the classically talked about negative for Beyond. Because I went through the entire film, and I was only able to think of about 9 things, and you could argue some of them are kind of the same.
The Idris Elba stuff doesn't make a lot of sense. That's one of the main things for me. Yorktown Station isn't a great design, in my opinion.
But we love Sean Hargraves.
Oh, and the motorcycle. Motorcycle on the
Franklin
on the ship. Yeah.
So this is what I think from my prep. What I think go through the film are the common things that people don't like so much about the ship. You've got the redesign of the JJ Prize with the less good nacelles of spindly. Common complaint. You've got Starbase Yorktown being a giant bubble and also being next to the nebula. Very coincidental happenstance and kind of unbelievable tech. You've got the ease of the space battle to kill the Enterprise, not necessarily killing it itself, but the ease, I suppose. You've got, in general, the underuse of Idris Elba as the villain. He's undeveloped. You've got the huge sidelining of Spock and McCoy. They're just really just sidelined for a good portion of it. You've got, it's just another superweapon film. People don't tend to like that. You've got, I have no problem with being a motorcycle on the ship, but the fact there is one, and the fact that he uses it, Beastie Boys or whatever, people don't like that. Beastie Boys in itself, of course, people have a problem with that. And then at the end, sort of the slightly mediocre ending of him becoming more human, but then not, and then bombing. Just a lackluster ending. But is there anything else? Because I was really scratching to say what people dislike about the film. I think for the most part people like this film and would not have that many critiques apart from, we mentioned 5 the same just now.
I'd have to scrub through it. I'm trying to think in my brain if I'm...
That's what I mean. I think it's for the most part, yeah, it's not that many.
Well, it was for the 50th anniversary of Trek. One thing I really appreciate is that there's 50 new aliens designs in the film, which is a great idea. So that's a good thing. But
I mean, you can't name or reference or show any of the, like, you couldn't tell us any of the 50, but they're there. Although I just saw one in Star Trek Section 31, the crab head lady, which is awesome. So that's it. So guys, you tell us right now, which is the worst piece, Section 31 or Beyond? Because yes, I mean, I think just from my lack of finding, I think there is this one. There's not even a doubt. Section 31. This feels like a movie. Although, funnily, I'm scrolling through it, it feels less like a big budget movie, which it is less a big budget movie, but it's so much more grounded that it doesn't feel as big. But it doesn't need to feel big because the characters are better. Like
that's why it feels more like a Star Trek film, and most Star Trek fans like it more.
Yeah,
because it feels more like a Star Trek film.
Oh, thank you.
Big and bad, you know.
But it's scrolling. It feels so much smaller and cheaper than the other two. So I see why it didn't get as much viewership. Now, that's not the reason, but if you like the first two, you went to this one, it's a huge step down because there isn't giant action set pieces that are quite as impressive. There isn't big punch-outs in the same way. It's missing all things you liked about the first two films. It's toned them down a lot. Oh no. Removing punching sequences. What a shame.
And a better Enterprise at the end.
For those 17 seconds. Yeah. Paul says, Beyond. Baddie is a superwoman. Wants revenge again and again. Yes. I mean, that's certainly closer than closer to Section 31. There is a villain that is human. At least this one, he's an alien that's been forced to use alien tech to live on a planet, and then it's kind of changed his brain over 200 years. That's a really cool concept, right? They just don't do much with it, like in the grand scheme.
Yeah. What, like, okay, he's mad at the Federation for stranding him. He was a former Mako. His thing is just to kill everybody on Yorktown Station. Like, that's his big revenge thing. I can't remember what the plot is now, why he wants to do this.
So if I can recall, he was on the XO1, one of those 150 people, 120 people. He survived the entire Xindi War. The war, meaning the one trip went out to fight them in a non-war, but the war. So he really served his king and country, right? And you can assume probably next before that, possibly after. He fought in the Romulan Wars. He was, one of those legendary, like, the whole time. So think Starfleet would owe him. He's on, and then he gets lost on the Franklin for some reason, and then no one ever goes after him, and he's forced to kill his crew for power. For life energy, which powers the device, which gives his other three people energy, which then transforms them into aliens to keep them living. Then he, throughout the years of going crazy, works out how to use the android tech on the planet, which was left over by the race that made everything. Then uses that as a giant space armada to destroy the Enterprise, which he summons via sending one of his ex-Makos out. And then killed Yorktown because fuck Starfleet because they betrayed me after I did everything. Did everything for them and sacrificed a lot. But he is brain infected by the alien device and tech, right? And he's like 190 years old, So he's the crazy defense counts.
Fuck Yorktown. These guys built this space station right beside me. Didn't even bother to check this planet. Yeah, that would kind of piss me off too, if I'm honest. Because Yorktown's just on the other side of the nebula, which is right there. That's just his biggest plot hole.
I mean, if it was a really small starbase that you could build quickly, you'd be like, okay, cool. But yeah, the amount of time to build that enormous starbase, and the fact there are like hundreds of civilians just chilling out means it's like a multi-year base. It's like, why is it near a random nebula that no one's ever gone to that's really dangerous that no one likes? What? Although at least distance isn't a problem in this film because they put it next to the bloody thing. It's right there. It's all good. No one travels far. It's fine.
Yeah. BJ says, I didn't even bother to see this film at the theaters. Watched it a few years ago later when it was on CBS Friday Night Film and Paramount Plus. And that's one of the problems. People boycotted this film and it didn't do well in theaters.
Yep.
I did go see it in theaters, and I remember when the Enterprise got its neck slit, I was like, yes, in the theater. And Sylvie was kind of embarrassed by that, but that's okay because that was a moment I'd been waiting for a while now because I hate that Enterprise so much.
See, I'm just picturing that the wonderful Canadian of you, in a Canadian audience of like-minded, gentle individuals, you said this, yes! Everyone's like, "Oh, hey, what's he doing? I don't know." And I'm like, "Yeah!"
Not quite. There was maybe
Okay.
20 people in the theater.
Oh.
And when that happened, I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. And I didn't keep my voice down. I don't know what they thought. I don't really care. But
But there was such an echo that your voice traveled, is what you're saying.
yeah. Well, I didn't whisper it. I just said it in my normal tone. So
Yeah,
anyway.
and I remember this film distinctly. In Darkness is terrible. Didn't like it. Didn't watch it again up until this film. I watched it after the fact, and then the second time. And going with this film, thinking it's going to be bad as well. But you got to see it. Of course you do. I remember thinking the uniforms look much nicer, and they are much nicer. And I don't remember the trailer in any way. Like, I have no memory of the trailer, or even what I thought.
Either, actually.
I'm pretty sure the song is in it, Beastie Boys. I'm pretty sure that's in it.
Yeah, it's the same one from the first movie.
Yeah, which is fine. But then watching it, we reviewed this film. This is when Trekyards began, but it wasn't anywhere. It's not the format that we do now. So we do have our thoughts on record. But I remember thinking, "Wow, this is so much better than the last one. That's nice." Like, it was a pleasant surprise, and I wish it had the word of mouth to generate the views, because the team here did a great job. Considering also, there's loads of behind the scenes about this film. Like, it's the least planned Trek film they ever made, because they had writers, they had producers. The director was on Fast and Furious. He was offered the thing, like, so soon before shooting. There was not a script. He asked Simon Pegg to write the script. They wrote it in, like, a couple of weeks. And he's obviously a big Trek fan, so he could trust him. They started building sets, not quite having the script finished, which does happen sometimes, but, like build these things. And then they made the film with so little prep time that, as good as it is a miracle, honestly, because they had the least prep time of any Trek film ever. So I'd love the team, the same two of them, to come in and do it with, any prep or an idea that she had versus an idea they had to have, right? Mm-hmm. I would love to see what they could do with proper prep and a bigger budget.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, the marketing on this movie was awful as well.
I can't remember it.
Like, there's a lot of reasons this thing didn't perform well. And that was the best of the three.
And turns out, it's just like with this current Star Wars product. If you release bad film, you might get a new audience, but if the old audience goes back less and less, then guess what? Numbers are going to be reduction. And guess what? Star Wars Force Awakens, huge numbership, went down for Last Jedi, went down for Rise of Skywalker, because you're pissing off people every time and you're not able to grab new people. Because why would you? You ain't grabbing people. You're not going to grab lots of new people for Star Trek 14. But if you can grab all the old people and then word of mouth to some new people, cool. That's where you do it, right? Core audience first, and above that, not core audience. Unless you make a new Trek film, like in the 47th century, like so abstract, it's just a fun film, happens to be Star Trek, but it can be great. It can be, and it's just whatever it is, right? Of the Enterprise Double Z. Oh yeah, the retirement Enterprise Z before we launched Enterprise AA. Something silly, but like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a new character in this one, and Jayla.
Good, yeah. No complaints. Great makeup. Carol Marcus should have been in it. I don't know why she wasn't. Should have. I mean, there's not much room for a love subplot, which is kind of good. But I think it should have been lovely to have in it.
Yeah.
Franklin's not bad.
Yeah, it's not a bad design.
It's not amazing, but pretty good.
The visual of the Enterprise going into Yorktown Station is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Very memorable, flying underneath water, like rivers.
And, absolutely. With the really nice, like, wide-angle lens shots that's really creative, that look nice. Very Fast and Furious. I remember thinking, we talked about this at the time, the classic JJ Prize before it gets gutted, going through the anomaly, and the spotlight's like lighting up the space around it, and it's really atmospheric and interesting, and we both said it almost looks good, those shots.
Yes, I remember in the theater that scene where they're going through the nebula with the Enterprise, and it's like, wow, that actually kind of made that ship look good.
Yeah.
And that was with the more awful spindly little struts too. So
the way they shot it, just worked a bit better. And then I remember you saying at the time you were almost sad he got killed.
Yeah, I was.
Almost.
Yeah. Almost. But at the same time, when you slit its neck, it's like, yeah. And then we get to see saucer separation.
Oh
in a
yeah,
movie.
yeah. I mean, you can't get more classic Trek idea than source separation.
Yep, and the gravity plating going out and then like running on the walls and the ceiling and stuff as the ship is dying was really cool as well. Seeing the saucer go through the atmosphere and hit a mountain or two.
Yep.
It's like, that's pretty great.
Yep, a lot of good stuff in this film.
And not much bad. Not much bad.
Yeah, I mean, this because Simon Pegg's a good writer. There's relatively few plot holes, and I don't get the impression that the main plot, which isn't necessarily his plot, as in like you can have the small stuff, but if he's been told you want this, this, and this, you have less wiggle room, right? So I don't know if the plot issues of the main guy being not quite as good is him or mandates or can't change. And I'm not going to put that so much on him because it feels like there's so many other logical things in place that's like a casualty of other processes, right? Versus every other plot element has a giant problem. They're just like, well, I didn't think of that. Like he did, but they weren't able to fix it or something or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, what does the poll say? Results, because I'm intrigued, because this these things would be pretty distinct.
Only have 43 votes, so go vote in the poll, guys. There's 81 of you here.
Yeah, why not 80 votes?
Right now, with 43 votes, Section 31 is the worst film with 88%, and Star Trek Beyond has 12%.
Wow. See, I don't know if I would even have a problem saying like, is Beyond better than Star Trek 5 Generations Insurrection Nemesis? Because in a few ways it is better. Like there are so many.
As sad as it is to say, for me, this is better than Star Trek 5. Although I love a lot of the elements of Star Trek 5, but yes, much more enjoyable to watch, I think.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I wanted to say that or not, but my heart was like, I think it's a better film. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, this one at the end kind of slows down for me a bit. Like the stuff on the planet starts to get a little boring.
Yeah.
Visually not appealing. But
there's less plot holes. There's less stupid plot bits overall. Right, we're averaging everything else. Feels like a movie.
Cool, yeah, we get some cool McCoy and Spock moments when they're together. Great.
I mean, just the characters are really actually on point. Spock feels more like Spock. Kirk feels more like Kirk. Bones feels more like Bones. I mean, everyone is working to their strengths. You have the single scene of McCoy and Kirk drinking is so at Star Trek 2, but in a respectful, appropriate way. That's like, oh yeah, that works. Versus just doing Star Trek 2 again. Etc. etc.
The Pyridon says, dang, I remember Beyond was terrible. Section 31 is just a fresher scar that still hurts more. Hard to say, to be honest.
Could you elaborate why you think Beyond was terrible? Because I would be hard-pressed to say anything about it was terrible. Except the undoes of Idris Elba, because he's better than this role.
Yeah.
But I mean, Khan's way worse in his film, and the Nero's way worse in his film, so he's the best of the three villains.
And yeah, I mean,
that's not a compliment to him, really.
I want to say about Benedict Cumberbatch, don't get me wrong, he's a good villain. He makes a fantastic villain. He's a fantastic actor. He's just not Khan.
Yeah. Yeah, he's more entertaining to watch, but in your core, you know that's not Khan. And the way he's doing it can't be Khan, so it's kind of like just pulls you out of it in a way that the other villains aren't. Yeah, they can be whoever you want, but you just can't.
You couldn't picture Ricardo Montalban doing the same things, I don't think.
No.
As much as you might want to try, it's just... I mean, and Cumberbatch does a good job. He really does. He's a good villain, but...
That's why John Harrison, pissed off Section 01 agent, great. Super, right?
Yeah.
Fine with it. Good idea for a villain.
Even the Admiral. Like having Admiral Marcus being an asshole. Love that. That's good. That's a Star Trek staple. Admirals.
And he's doing it to protect the Federation because Klingons be more militaristic in this universe. Great. And I really wish... I mean, I look at a lot of things, right? That's a dumb way of starting a sentence about the JJ films. I really wish they played into the multiverse-ness of it, as in, at some point, maybe even Spock comes in and says, because of Kelvin, because of that battle, because of the Klingons' interference, because of this and this, Starfleet is on a military path that we never were in our universe, which has led to Marcus be able to be where he is, doing the things he's doing, and not be stopped, right? Like, the first film led to this new universe where you can then make more grand changes, which they do, but have them make sense. Because of Kelvin, because of this big ship came in, blew up one of our best ships. Like, that would have been really interesting, and then Spock could make comment about how, you know, a pebble in a pond, right? It wasn't just Kirk, it wasn't just your dad dying. It literally changed all of the universe. And because of all that, Marcus, who in our universe is lovely, you know, is a dick here. And it's funny, because had you really wanted to go home, speak to the heavens of quality, you could have had, I mean, this is never going to happen, right? But if you were like really going for like Trek love, imagine if in Into Darkness, when, I'm slightly changing it more than the sentence says, but imagine if when Spock is in it, assume he's in it a bit more, when Spock was in it about Khan, right? He says the Marcus, and the thing I just said about the universe being more different. Imagine if he then said the Marcus in my universe was nicer, and we flash back to a scene on the Ticonderoga sets of Marcus, the actor, in TOS uniform, or even on a single little bridge set or whatever, right? In full, like the full canon, and he's like a very nice, gentle admiral, chilling out, because it would look right. It could be both universes. That's fine. Like, that's what you do if you're a really big Trek nerd. Same thing with the Kelvin B TOS, the first film. Like, you go with it fully, but show our own version. Like, what do you think if that had been in it?
That would have been great. I would have loved that. And you keep doing that. You keep going back to the Ticonderoga sets. And I wish they would do that, because it makes a whole lot of sense. It's already built. It's good. It's visually... It's the same as the filming sets were originally. I wish that they would do that. I would love to see that on a big screen. I would love to see that in any form. But they're not going to. I keep saying, unfortunately, they're not going to.
They're free to shoot on.
Well...
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Corley can charge them to film on the sets that they partially, you know, they
own.
Yeah, I don't think he can charge.
I think they own them now. Like, at least, well, it's licensed at least. So.
Yeah, I mean, he owns them, but he can't, like, he doesn't own the likeness of them because they're Star Trek sets. You know, he doesn't own them either way, except the physicality of he owns the building, he owns the wood, but he doesn't own the visuals, right? And he can't make money without the license, so, you know, he's behooven to them. I know that. Like, I would never have thought that would be in it. Same thing with Beyond. Imagine if they'd had a flashback of the NX-01 bridge, build a little quarter of it. You have Jonathan Archer. It wasn't that long after Enterprise finished, right? It was a lot closer than now.
Yeah.
Bit of hair dye, or even like Hoshi. I don't think she aged much in the following 5-6 years. And you ever seen with you know, Idris Elba and them in NX uniform would have been absolutely beautiful. It'd be really beautiful and super easy to do.
Yeah.
Really, really nice.
And Melanie says, how did Garrett go from Section 31 to Starship Captain? Well, she's a Starfleet officer. She's there as oversight. So that's just a... babysitter mission, essentially, yes. So she's not really a member of Section 31. She's still Starfleet. So that's how.
Although bit of a question, though, to you. Is anybody actually in Section 31 full time? Surely everyone in Section 31 is a Starfleet officer who's been recruited to work in Section 31 in a full-time, half-time, part-time capacity. But they're all Starfleet officers because it's a Starfleet organization. Right?
I never got that sense from the movie Section 31, though. I got the sense that the Commonwealth and stuff weren't members of Starfleet. They were just hired guns, essentially.
Well, yeah, I mean in the Garrett question, right? Like, if you're a Starfleet officer in Section 31, you're a Starfleet officer. Like, you...
Yeah, because even Bashir, they were like, you just still do your regular duties. We'll call you in when we need you.
Yeah.
So it's like a side hustle.
Yeah. So I guess I wasn't clear. Like, yes, and you're very, very right. They can bring in help who aren't obviously Starfleet. But if you're in Section 31 as a standard officer, you are part of Starfleet because you were Starfleet originally and then you were recruited.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, technically it's a federation. I mean, it's Section 31 of the Federation, not of Starfleet. So they could be civilians. But I don't know. I would assume a lot of Section 31 are Starfleet officers first, then recruited, and then... So Garrett is nothing special. people are tapped for various missions. I'm sure a lot. I'm told Section 31 just do this mission, and it's just not on the books, right?
Yeah, you have your set of skills that we need right now, so we're going to pull you from your current assignment, and this won't show up on your record because, covert.
Oh. Well, and it's like in the one with Sloane on the Intrepid. He's a civilian, and also goes to S9 in a uniform as a character, so he's playing the part of Starfleet. And people recognise him with rank and etc. So he's able to play the part, which means you can have a mission where, as they do, that's not an official Section 31 mission, right? Ross is an agent, Bashir's an agent, Sloane's an agent, but they're all under the guise of someone else. So you could easily have, like, we're not saying that the entire crew of the Bellerothon are Section 31, even though it's their mission, because it's, you know what I mean? Like, it's so under the surface that you can literally have a mission where only one person on the ship is being liaised with Section 31, and everyone else is there just as normal people.
Yeah, and as Dave Anthat says, like how James Bond is a Royal Navy commander. Yeah, exactly. He's in the Royal Navy with the rank of commander, but he's also a spy. So yes. Cat Boots throws in $5. Thank you so much. Pride keeps them from using fan sets.
Which is ironic because they have a company called Fansets that has the license. Yeah. I've said it a million times, Stuart, but they could just film a TOS web series, release it within 6 months.
Fuck, that'd be great. I would love a 6-part miniseries on Paramount Plus that's all just TOS on those sets.
Yep. Especially as how many people in the team could recreate the TOS special space effects? How many people in this room can recreate the TOS special space effects? Even looking nicer. Just hire Otoy. You know what I mean? They just
make Carlos in to direct it with Sam Witwer and Kirk. What? Now we're getting
Carlos. Are you here this time? Organic name drop. Yeah, it bewilders me that you've got a full standing filming set. Yes, obviously some of it looks like a museum now, but bloody hell, they redress so many TNG sets to be other sets with paint and then put them back. Like, it's not an issue, right? It's free money, and I'm about to say I guarantee. Is it worth saying I guarantee they would get more viewership for a TOS web series, miniseries on Paramount Plus than they would for the Section 31 movie that just came out? Or is the hate watching enough? Like, what would you say? Because that's a very weird. I don't know.
If they did a TOS anything on those sets to release on Paramount Plus, I guarantee you the viewership would be through the roof. People that weren't even subscribed to Paramount Plus would subscribe just to watch that. Section 31 is much more of a broader scattershot approach to an audience. Like, you're scrolling on Paramount Plus, you see this thing, Section 31.
Oh, no, you saw Michelle Yeoh.
I was going to say, and then the next thing is like, oh, that's Michelle Yeoh. Yeah. I'm going to check that out. I liked, Everything Everywhere All at Once. I'll watch this.
Is it Oscar quality? Don't think about it.
It won't pull you into Star Trek at all.
Oh, no. No. But it's not trying to.
Yeah, I think the TOS thing would do amazing, and they would get such good publicity and press from that, and such goodwill from the fans that it's stupid for them not to. But
because I'm trying to think, because we're obviously incredibly biased for TOS, right? Of course we are. No shade. It's the classic. It's still some best stories. Great, fine. But I've got to imagine, again, Super Chat guys, if your thoughts as we're nearing the end, we'd love another sort of 5 Super Chats, 3, whatever. But I would imagine that, it'd be cheaper than Section 31 by an absolute mile. You're looking at, 20% the budget for a 6-part miniseries? $500,000 an episode, you could still do it, because the set's often the big cost, and if all that's there. Obviously, you want to build new sets, but maybe if you just don't build new sets, because most of Trek's on a bridge, right? A whole episode's on a bridge. The 12-minute episodes, you have 6 minutes on the bridge, 3 engineering, 1 in the crew quarters, 1 in the corridor. Boom. There's one episode they go on an LED wall and it's an alien planet, right? Cool. Yeah, you film, and what's funny, Stuart, is that I would say you film this web series entirely modernistically, anamorphic, depth of field, harsher lighting, right? Proper cinema style lighting. you don't TOS light it. I mean, put the colors in, but you don't like flat it. Like you don't shoot it like TOS. You just use the sets. So it's a hybrid of new and old, but using the old sets and how you could, because the corridor's going to look like a corridor, right? It's not going to look that dated if it's out of focus, right? And then and a trailer comes out, you know, a ship on the edge of the universe, and it's a Connie. It's like shit. And you know, pan up from the blinkies with a lovely depth of field on a black female captain. She's like, science, tell me the readings. It cuts to Andorian on the science station. Well, Captain, power readings are off the charts. Phasing. As a clear break comes in and fires and there's some sparks and it's fine. And it cuts to engineering and they're running around and it's running and then Captain, the shield. I'm Scottish as well. Fuck it, I'm Scottish brother. I'm Scottish. Or I'm Irish. Shield's down to 40%, Captain.
I'm Welshie.
I'm Welsh. Yeah. And then suddenly, like 3 Klingons in full garb beam into the corridor, phases up, start shooting, and then they stab a guy right in the chest, but it cuts for it, gets in, and that's actually a bait and switch. It's not really a stab in the film, in the show, whatever. Star Trek Excalibur 47. I don't know.
Excalibur Rising.
Yeah, Distant Horizon, whatever. Coming in 3 weeks, and it's like, what? And it's like modern TOS. That trailer would be like, IGN would say, they're doing a modern TOS? And it looks really cool? And like that'd get promotion. Like, how excited were you that I just painted as a picture for you, right?
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I love the because I can picture that too.
Yeah, you don't shy away from the modernistic to get new audience, but you make it like, I think you would blow the rating. I mean, yes, you wouldn't get the hate views, but you get so many intrigued people, and the fact that Unification has 20 million views now, without any promotion, like at real like paid promotion, I think this would blow up.
It would also help the attendance at the Star Trek set tours, because honestly, it's like this is now an actual filming location.
Jesus, I hadn't thought of that.
Some of our favorite actors have been here in this exact space. So now I really want to go visit it, because I could be standing in the same place where whoever was starring in it stood. You know what I mean? Like, that adds something extra to the set tour.
I hadn't even thought of that. Yeah. I mean, with the filming, go and hang out on a real Star Trek set that was both a fan set and a real set, and and you would imagine that they probably would do some mild upgrades to the set. James, your electrician works a bit wonky. Let's redo it with newer computers because it's a fire hazard, and now they're upgraded and whatever. Yeah. Hi, it's such an easy sell. Trek fans aren't that hard to please, right? Make us a TNG series. TNG uniforms looking sexy, and a TOS series looking sexy, and there'll be millions of happy fans, right?
Theoretically, yes.
Yeah, if you do it crappily, of course, but just don't do it crappily.
Guys, we're closing out here, but we have 75 people watching, which is fantastic. 94 likes, which is also great. But I want to get to 100 likes. We did yesterday. So hit like. Let's get another 6 likes. If you're just joining us or haven't hit like yet, please do so. And a couple more super chats would be great, but I'm going to end this poll.
Yes, please do.
65 votes.
Okay.
Worst film, Section 31 with 91%. Wow. Star Trek Beyond, 9%.
Which makes it the least disliked film of all the ones that we've reviewed so far, which all, I believe 10% was the lowest. So there we go. Star Trek Beyond is the least disliked of the other films. Awesome.
Yes.
Happy with that. Okay, then, my question to you all, because again, this is all based on you guys' feedback and conversation. These lives only work with you guys interacting, which yesterday was amazing. Today's been okay. Do you want to see a part 3 tomorrow, looking at Section 31 versus Star Trek Discovery? The 5 seasons of the hit TV, the TV show, the show, which is worse, Section 31 or Discovery, comparing the different themes and characters and things, and that is a bar potentially even lower than the JJ films to then discuss. Do you want to see us do a third part or something else tomorrow? Let us know right now in the chat, because if you aren't here supporting, no point doing it, but if you do want to watch it, let us know. Yes or no, you'll pop in tomorrow and you want to see it.
Put it in the chat or super chat in with a yes or no, please. I am having a traumatic experience just even thinking about doing that, having to revisit all the Discovery during that. And I mean, Red Letter Media said it when they did the thing. They're like, if this had been a series, it'd be fucking awful for Section 31.
As if they watched your review first.
We said the same thing.
No, Stranger Worlds does not count Discovery because they're made by different people with different style, artistic characters. No, it doesn't count.
Exactly, has a Star Trek feel to it.
Yep.
Stranger Worlds. So
I don't think anybody would say Section 31 is worse than Stranger Worlds. That'd be a live with they're so short. Yeah, no question, it's better. As in Stranger Worlds.
We're comparing Section 31 with the TMP movies. We already did that yesterday, Raj.
Yep. There's 3 layers of Trek: the classic movies, the JJverse, and the Kurtzman era, where Discovery is the worst of the batch. So those are the 3 to compare to.
Yeah.
TK, both are equally bad. Yum yum. That one line alone, right? Being able to build a Red Angel suit with the bulkheads of your engineering in an hour, with unlimited storage, unlimited time travel ability based on a sun that you can pull power from. Yeah. I'm not sure they're equally bad. But, again, do you want to see us do a live tomorrow on Discovery versus Section 31?
And Raj says, oh, yes, sorry, I mean TNG movies. Also covered those yesterday as well.
Yes. In fact, more so, because there were less good there's only TMP and Star Trek 5. We looked at Generations, Insurrection, and Nemesis. So, but we did that for a while.
Yes, that was yesterday's live. If you missed it, go check it out. Are you really going to go through and get fucking footage from every season?
Well, things
there's so much bad stuff in Discovery that we would have thousands of pictures per season.
But it's mostly the early seasons. Like, I mean, think about the last 2 seasons. What are the bad things? It's more pacing. Like, you know what I mean? There's less of those obnoxious things. I mean, the burn, we don't have a problem, but it's there are things, but there's less things in the later seasons that people have complaints about in general. You're right, the early seasons will be fucking nightmare, but
well, yeah, I haven't rewatched those in a long time, but
neither have I don't want to either.
But at least I don't know, at least stuff is new. Then I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. Again, vote, guys, yes or no. Do you want us to do Discovery versus Section 31 tomorrow? Because yes, we'd find various things, because it is spawned from the same thing, and hey, it might be better than Discovery. Maybe we'll say it's more consistent, because at the end of the day, we're going to compare 5 seasons of television to 1 movie. It's a big comparison.
I'm not looking forward to that. Officially on the record.
Yes, let the hate flow through. Yes.
Madness 201 says no because of the cap's sanity. Thank you.
I mean, sanity though, is that the phrase we're gonna go with?
Did I ever have any? I don't know.
I think you were born into the madness, Stuart.
I don't think I could have done Trekyards for 10 years with Sam if I was sane ever. I'm not saying Sam's a bad guy or anything. Just saying.
You're just samming.
I'm samming the chat. It's like spamming the chat, only different.
Thanks for clarification, Stuart.
Yeah, I might not have got it. I don't know. It's a bad dad joke. Gotta explain it sometimes.
I'm glad you made it, because it wouldn't have been legal for me with it. Being dead. What also jokes I'll make as a dad? And what if dad jokes get worse generationally? Like, what would a dad joke? Okay. Because what would a dad joke have been like in the war? You know, the world wars. What would that classes be? What would their level of joke be? And that is a bad joke. I mean, racism probably, but I wonder what else. Dunno. So do people want to do that?
96 likes.
Do people want to do the live tomorrow then, Stuart? Have people spoken?
I mean, a few people have said yes, maybe, I guess.
Oh, and guys, please, we do these videos for you. Check out our 2 videos. We've got a whole slew this week, and if you don't watch them, that's really sad, because I put time into all them prepping, and we put time to filming, and put time to editing. Yesterday, we looked at the giant unofficial plot hole of San, which is a really fun debate. Some numbers, guys. I did the math. And today, Stuart reiterated to the audience what we did, because it was a really fun one to celebrate. That's right,
Ryan
guys.
K, that's not very damn funny. Sorry. Anyway, today's was on, yes, celebrating some canon in Section 31. On the phaser wall, on the weapons wall in Giorgio's office, there's some actual absolutely correct phasers.
There's
TOS
the thumbnail.
phaser, Star Trek 3 phaser, the assault phaser. No Discovery phasers, no Strange New Worlds phasers. Interesting choice. So, yeah, we give them a little bit of credit. Yeah.
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 Did a good job. And Madness has an idea. Instead of Section 31 versus Discovery, why not Section 31 versus the worst episodes of each series?
Say that again, sorry. But
Instead of 31 versus Discovery, why not 31 versus the worst episodes of each series?
that would take a lot of work.
I mean, but if you look at like Code of Honor probably is the worst of TNG, but that's because of the zeitgeist of hate.
Code of Honor, Shades of Grey, and The Child, in my opinion.
The Child's probably more like story offensive. Voyager, I mean, but Threshold's not a bad episode until the end, so Threshold's way better than Section 31 and discussion. Like, it has to be a worse episode than Threshold because it's not the episode's not bad until the last bit of it.
Spock's brain from TOS, but even that, it's got some interesting ideas in it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, DS9, there's so much in Season 1 that isn't good, but I can't think of any particular... Right? Like...
Move Along Home.
Oh, sorry, yeah, Move Along Home. But I know I like the Quark stuff in it, because he's interesting to watch. Even though it's ridiculous, he's interesting, and the fact they commit to it... But that's interesting to see how they approach a ludicrous situation, right? That's interesting. Yeah. It's dumb, but it's interesting. And then Enterprise... God, what's the worst episode of Enterprise? There's so many average ones. I don't know what would be one of the worst. I never thought of that. I've never had that conversation with myself.
And These Are the Voyages doesn't count because it's a good episode. It's just not a good finale.
Yeah, I mean, that probably will, I guess, speaks to the worst because it's just offensive. Like Code of Honor, but in different ways. I guess that would be because it's not remote. The fact we can't think of other ones means not much pisses us off. There's a generally pisses you off episode in the context of what it is.
The one with Hoshi,
Hoshi,
whatever the fuck her name is, Hoshi.
Yeah.
And where she's being held captive in that castle by the Beauty and the Beast episode.
I don't remember hating it though. I remember thinking the alien's kind of cool, like design wise, and the castle's good, but I can't remember the rest of it.
A lot of people will say the one where Archer gets infected by the little Zindi babies.
We like that. Mother.
But it's a great concept.
I think Terra Firma's pretty terrible. Those two, not all of it. Just
Terra Firma's not good.
Just lots of it.
Yeah.
The Nazi ones aren't good, but they're not like horrible. They're just not good. I guess those are not good ones though. Yeah.
What about comparing Star Trek Section 31 to other non-Star Trek sci-fi movies?
I mean, you got to go bottom barrel to compare, haven't you? Really? Because if you take the Star Trek perspective off it, it's so beyond mediocre, mediocre.
Yeah, we could compare it to Guardians of the Galaxy.
Can we?
No, not at all.
I've still not seen the third one. I don't know why. Just it didn't look very interesting. I don't know. Second one's not very good, I don't think. It's okay. So I guess I like the first one then. The first one was great, so I guess it's...
Anyway, we'll think about it. And we'll let you know. Stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed and click the notification bell icon so you don't miss any content. And go check out that video that is on screen right now.
It's good. It's good stuff.
It is good.
We got to be almost entirely positive.
It surprised me. Yeah.
Give them credit where they deserve it, right? That's an important philosophy.
All right. Well.
Yeah.
We'll call it a wrap for today. Thank you guys for joining us. You guys are awesome. Hit like if you haven't already. We're at 99. One more, as we're closing out would be great, but we'll see if it happens. Anyway, until tomorrow.
Yeah.
He's Commander Trekyardians.
Be your turn. Oh dear. He's Captain Foley.
And we'll see you guys later.
Bye, guys.
PTSD returning, and we hit 100. That is amazing.
Hey. Night, guys.